Hey, how's everybody doing today? I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to my speech I'm about to give, and let's go ahead and get on into it. Um, One of the things that I really believe in the world is obviously the addiction is a very tragic thing, that there's multiple different types of addiction, whether that be smoking or drinking, drug abuse. But to me, the worst kind of addiction is gambling addiction. Um, Not only is it something that is detrimental to your financial situation, but gambling addiction can also actually lead or be a gateway to other addictions. And I'm going to get into that in a second. So, how many of you out here have ever scratched off a lottery ticket? And if you have scratched off a lottery ticket, I'm just going to ask, you know that feeling you get of the hope when you're about to win, or you feel as though you're about to win? That's actually a chemical reaction in your brain. It's creating dopamine in your brain, and you're getting excited because of the possibility of winning millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, the odds of you actually winning are slim to none. And it actually creates an addiction for some people in their brain that they continuously buy or start to chase, as some would say. They just continuously spend money and they never win. Um, every year in Ohio alone, 30,000 people become addicted to gambling. Gambling is a disease, an addiction that does not discriminate, and anyone can become addicted to gambling, whether you're old or young, poor or rich, or any ethnicity, really. You can become addicted to gambling. Um, Gambling addiction is just extremely detrimental to somebody's life. So, with that being said, um, there's three problems to what causes gambling addiction. The first problem would be the readily available number of casinos in the world today. Just in Ohio alone, gambling has recently became legalized within the last 10 years, and there's already 14 casinos in the state. Those casinos alone profited $1.9 billion in 2018 alone. And in the 10 years since they legalized gambling, that number has risen $1.4 billion. The first year gambling was legalized in 2012, they only profited $500,000, $500 million, sorry. The increasing number of the profit in these casinos is a direct correlation with the number of gamblers and the problematic gamblers that the state has, and the casinos being readily available is mainly the cause as to why gambling addiction has gone up. Obviously, if it's not readily available to people, the odds that somebody gets hooked on something like that is slimmer. Secondly, um, there's multiple problems that gambling causes for the human mind and body. One of these problems is that it causes debt, obviously. So every year in America, roughly 23 million people go into thousands of dollars of debt due to gambling. As I mentioned before, Ohio alone is responsible for $1.9 billion of debt that people go into from gambling in just 1 year alone. And going into debt, obviously, money is a big stressor for a lot of people. So this can cause a variety of different mental health diseases such as severe anxiety, stress, and even depression. Oftentimes, these three psychological disorders can lead to the abuse of drugs such as cocaine or marijuana, and these issues can tend to make it hard to live a normal life if you continue down the path that it might take you on. Obviously, it becomes a snowball effect. The problem with doing drugs and alcohol and drinking consistently and going more and more into debt, trying to hide from your problems, takes a large toll on your brain. So when people start abusing drugs and alcohol, or they start to suffer from depression due to the debt from gambling, a route they will often take is suicide. Actually, gambling addiction has the highest suicide rate out of all addictions, and a direct correlation to this is Ohio's leading cause of death is actually suicide. So every day in the state of Ohio, 3 innocent lives are taken by suicide, and every year in Ohio, there are 30,000 people who are addicted to gambling that are at an increased risk of suicide. Unfortunately, 20% or one in every 5 of these 30,000 people will attempt suicide. So obviously, gambling may not be an addiction that everybody thinks of, like, wow, this is really dangerous, but it's something that can start as a smaller addiction and can lead you to other worse things. And that's why I believe gambling is the worst addiction, because It's one of those things that it starts small, starts really small, and it just progressively builds up over time, and it leads you down other paths and other roads, and next thing you know, you're depressed or abusing drugs and alcohol. And it's not an ideal scenario for anybody to be in. So, in conclusion, when you really look into the nitty gritty of the gambling addiction, you can see how gambling addiction is the worst type. It serves as a gateway, and if people didn't get involved with gambling, a lot of these people would live normal everyday lives, but they don't. So, thank you for listening to my speech. I appreciate you.